Everybody knows that this week's Parsha demonstrates a paradigm shift in what it means to be a Jew. We received the Torah. This was the greatest event, the greatest revelation, the greatest religious revelation in all of history. The question is, what changed? What exactly changed between before we got the Torah and after we got the Torah? The Rambam, in the beginning of Hilchot Avodah Zarah, paints a picture of the early Jewish history. He starts off with Avram Avinu. Avram Avinu was known as the first monotheist. He went around the world demonstrating to the world the fact that there is only one God, and also that believing in one God is a moral and just statement. He went from city to city and preached these ideals. He then wrote books on these ideas, and then he passed them on to his children. Now Avram passed these ideals on to Yitzchak, Yitzchak to Yaakov, and Yaakov to his 12 sons. Those 12 sons went down to Egypt, and they lived there for many, many years. The question the Rambam asks at this point is, was Avraham's vision successful? Was he successful in taking the ideals and the values of monotheism and passing them down to his children? Did his children eventually accept upon themselves to go in the path of Hashem, to do justice and mishpat? That is the question. The Rambam says, Avram's vision was a failure. What do you mean a failure? Here we are today, the Jewish people, representing Avraham's ideals for thousands of years. He says, but when they were in Egypt, everything fell apart. Very, very soon after the brothers passed away, the Shvatim passed away, the Jews ended up being just like their Egyptian neighbors. They assimilated. The values that Avram Avinu was trying to pass on to his children never actually took hold. Then what happened? What happened? Why did it not take hold? What did we do in order to accomplish what we've accomplished today and being the Jewish people for thousands of years? The Rambam says the difference was that Avram Avinu had ideals, had values, had grand ideas. However, Moshe was posed with the task of turning those ideals into a structured system, and taking a vessel that can be passed on from generation to generation, not only as values, but rather as actual actions. As actions that you can pass on, you can see your parents, your grandparents doing from generation to generation. My mother told me a fascinating story that she heard from our cousins. That they met somebody who unfortunately met a non-Jew, and they fell in love. And this non-Jewish girl was somebody from Argentina. And his parents were very, very, very disappointed. Why didn't you marry somebody Jewish? We really, really hoped that you would create a Jewish family. But the son resisted and said, listen, I really love this girl. Please, at least come with me to Argentina and meet the parents. They went down to the parents, and they met, and it was coming to Friday night, and all of a sudden the parents said, listen, the parents of the Argentinian girl said, hold on 1 minute, we have to go down to the basement. They crept down to the basement, and they went, and then they came back about 10 minutes later. Now the mother, this Jewish family from Montreal, turned to the Argentinian family and said, what were you doing? Why'd you go downstairs? And they said, listen, there's a custom in our family that we go down to the basement every single Friday night and we light candles. The mother was shocked. What does this mean? Why were you lighting candles on a Friday night? They must have been from the family of Moranos. For hundreds of years, this Argentinian family, this originally Spanish family, has been lighting candles in their home, and they had no idea why. They were just lighting the candles. That's what their grandmother did. That's what their grandmother did. That's the way it was. They had no idea what the values were specifically of lighting candles on Friday nights, but the actions were able to cross generations and keep this family a little bit connected to their heritage, to being a Jew. And from there, the story turned into a happy one. There's a family that we met from Russia, who throughout Stalin's Russia, everything was removed from their Jewish identity. One year we had them over for a Seder, and the mother said, you know what? I always remember that my grandmother used to invite us over for a big meal in April. Now what was this big meal in April? Not necessarily did they remember the story, but the actions were able to cross generations. Values are very, very powerful. They motivate us to act and live our lives in a certain way. However, values without structure are very hard to pass on from generation to generation. After 3 or 4 generations, a value can disappear. Actions, seeing your grandparents do something, is something that you pass on from family to family to family, until finally, one day, you're able to open up the vessel of those actions, look inside, and understand the values behind it. That is the idea of the mitzvot. Moshe Rabbeinu said, I am going to continue Avram Avinu's job, and I'm going to make it even stronger. I'm going to create actions. Hashem said, Moshe, this is your task, to turn all of the values of Avram Avinu into the mitzvot. The actions of the mitzvot are so important for the continuation of the values of Avram Avinu for thousands and thousands of years. Without them, we wouldn't be here today. A value that doesn't have a structure is something that dissipates into history. Structures break through the barriers of generations and allow us to keep our heritage and keep that value and keep those message of Avraham Avinu for thousands and thousands of years to come. Shabbat Shalom.